I guess my first question is, how many super funds do you provide life insurance to?
That would be probably somewhere between 10 and 15 super funds, off the top of my head, Senator Bragg.
Okay. And 15 large super funds?
Of various sizes.
Okay. And you provide death cover and TPD cover?
Death cover, TPD, and also income protection cover.
Okay. But in the super fund, the average worker or average member would receive what sort of coverage generally?
It varies significantly across fund. Each fund considers the needs of their cohort and decides an insurance benefit that is appropriate for their fund. So those coverages can range from $20,000 in TPD up to a couple of $100,000. Very much depends on the design that the trustee determines is appropriate for their cohort, considering the demographics of their cohort.
What's
For
the
example,
So what's the average death cover?
Again, it's very difficult for me to give you an average, Senator Bragg, because it really does vary by fund and by age. It's important to note that not only is it a set amount, that it isn't a set amount by age for each fund. They develop scales that reflect the different needs for their members over their lifetime with the superannuation fund.
Okay, so what's the death cover at Cbus then?
I'm sorry, Senator Bragg, I don't have that information to hand. All I can suggest is that it varies by scale, by age, and it is available in their insurance guides.
You didn't think that would be a question you get asked today?
No, I didn't appreciate that, no. I can tell you that the average sum benefit that we do pay, I can share that information with you rather than the sum insured, if that's helpful. And I confirm that...
I guess I just maybe just go back a step. So, I mean, are you aware of the significant public interest in these matters that are facing the Cbus super fund?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And so you're not sure what kind of coverage TAL is providing to Cbus members?
Yes, I am. I can
you are.
Yeah, I can confirm that the average death benefit that we have paid for Cbus members is approximately $130,000.
$130,000, okay. And so what is your relationship with Cbus like?
In terms of the nature of that relationship, Senator Bragg, I'm very happy to unpack the relationship and the structure of the relationship that we have with Cbus, and similarly with all of our superannuation fund partners, if that's helpful for you.
Yes, please.
Okay. I think it's important to note in the context of the conversations that are being had at the moment that there are two types of claims that members can make with their superannuation funds. The first type of claim is a non-insured death benefit claim. Typically, these relate to family members and their estates claiming on their loved one's superannuation account balance only. There's actually no insurance attached to that, and therefore we as life insurers aren't a party to that process. We see that around 60 to 70% of all death claims made to superannuation funds don't actually have any insurance benefit associated with them. That noted, however, the second type of claim will have an insurance component associated with it, in addition to the claim on the member's account balance as well. It is for these claims that the life insurer has a role to play alongside the trustee and the administrator. Typically, and the process that falls through that is typically a member or their family will contact the fund or via their administration function, which can be insourced or outsourced. The administration function will check that the member had cover at the relevant date and then move to work with the member to collect all the necessary information that's required to provide to the life insurer for us to commence our assessment of the claim. Once that minimum information has been received, we will then move to assess the claim. Upon the completion of that assessment, the life insurer will confirm to the superannuation fund their decision, and where the decision is to admit either a death or TPD claim, we will then forward those funds to the administrator. Thereafter, the administrator will work with the trustee to finalise all the necessary processes to attribute those life insurance benefits to the member's account and ultimate to the member or their beneficiaries. So you can see there's a couple of distinct processes in there.
Yeah, I understand that. So does your relationship with Cbus differ from any other super fund?
No. In the contractual relationship that we have with superannuation funds is underpinned by the products that we provide. So the relationship that exists between ourselves and a superannuation fund is that we provide them a life insurance product. And that comes with all the obligations and regulations that are associated with the provision of life insurance. That's slightly different to the contractual arrangement they have with their administrator.
So the Cbus relationship is the same as every other super fund. And if I take your testimony there, you're saying that it's the super trustee, the super fund, that makes the judgment about whether a claim is made. Is that right?
We make a judgment and assessment as to whether or not we will admit liability on the insurance component of a claim, and then we confirm that decision to the trustee, and where the decision is to admit, we will then pay those funds to the trustee, typically via their administrator.
Okay, so then what is the role of the trustee?
I understand that the trustee has a number of obligations that they need to exercise once we have passed those funds across. But as I said, our contractual relationship starts with the receipt of the claim and does actually finalise once we've made the decision and paid the money across to the trustee.
Okay. So you don't get asked to provide payment until the trustee asks you to?
No, we pay the money upon making the decision on a claim. We pay the money across to the administrator, who I'm not sure what sort of trust arrangement they will put that money into, but ultimately I then expect that they distribute that to the members' accounts.
Now, I guess my question is more a process flow question. So is it that there's a trustee? Is a trustee the first entity which makes a judgment to pay a claim, or is that the insurer, TAL in this case?
As I said, we have our policy with the trustee, so we will confirm our decision to admit and pay a claim.
So you confirm the trustees, do you?
We confirm to the trustee that we are admitting the claim, and then we pass the funds across to them.
Okay, but that's after the trustee has agreed that there is a claim.
Yes. So at the commencement of the process, the administrator will confirm that the member has cover in place at the date of event, and that cover has been paid for. So they confirm at the commencement of the claim that there is a cover claim to be made, and then we assess it, and then we pay the funds to them.
Okay, so at the top of this process flow, it's the trustee is at the top of the process flow. They have to make the initial judgment as to whether this will go into a claims scenario where the insurer will actually make the payment through the administrator.
I think we're talking the same thing. I think we're aligned. The administrator and the trustee will determine whether or not they believe that the member is eligible to make a claim. They will then pass it across to us. We will assess the claim. We will determine the claim. And in the circumstances where we determine it is appropriate to admit the claim, we will then confirm that to the trustee and pay the funds across to the trustee. Again, that would typically sit with their administration function, whether that be insourced or outsourced.
Okay, but if there is then a significant delay in a member being able to get a judgment made by the parties, the party that the member contacts is the trustee, isn't it? They contact the super fund.
We've seen circumstances when members will reach out directly to us, but we also understand that they will reach out to their fund, again, typically via the administrator.
Yeah, so the organisation on the hook legally and in a practical sense at the top of the food chain is the super fund, isn't it?
I understand that the super fund has a number of regulatory obligations they have to comply with. I do note, however, Senator, that we too, as the life insurer, has a number of regulations and obligations that we have to comply with. We have to comply with the policy document and service agreements that we've issued, but we're also bound by the Life Code, Corporations Act, and we're a voluntary subscriber to the Life Code of Conduct.
Has Cbus ever complained about TAL's services?
We've got very strong governance processes in place between ourselves and Cbus that ensures that there is a very regular ongoing review of our operations and our outcomes. Where there is a dip in those results, there is constructive conversation around how we can recover those and return them to a appropriate service standard. There is very strong and robust regular meetings, reporting and conversations around those circumstances.
Okay, so there hasn't been any complaints? Cbus hasn't complained about your services?
To characterise it as a complaint would probably not be appropriate, but to suggest that we work together to ensure that we are achieving appropriate outcomes and realising any opportunities to improve them would be a better characterisation of the conversations we have.
Yeah, and who do you deal with at Cbus?
We deal with a number of people over across at Cbus. We deal with the executives responsible for insurance, but we have relationships through the business.
Do you deal with the board?
No, we do not.
So you don't have any engagement with the board or the chair?
Not directly, no.
Okay, so these are all judgments. So these are all judgments made by the executive, are they, of the fund to engage TAL?
I'm not sure of the governance processes that exist within Cbus, but I can confirm that we have engagement and relationships with the executives at Cbus and then also those people that are involved in the management of the insurance product and the insurance claims management.
In 2020, 2021, Cbus had 49 complaints according to AFCA, then went to 68 in 21, 22, then 116 in 22, 23, and then 191 in 23, 24. So what do you think is driving this high level of complaint of Cbus's services through AFCA?
Senator Bragg, in all honesty, it's difficult for me to comment on that because I don't actually have the insight as to what's underpinning the complaints. I can share with you what typically underpins complaints that we receive at TAL, and usually it's members not necessarily understanding or having a clear expectation of what's going to happen for them during the claims process, or feedback given through that process. But I'm sorry, Senator, I'm just not across what's underpinning Cbus's complaints.
So you don't know, as the insurer, why Cbus is dragging the chain on these death and TBD claims?
No, I can't give you a credible opinion on that, sir.
You don't know, okay. What is the contract that exists between TAL and Cbus that allows a bonus payment to be paid to Cbus if there are fewer claims made?
I wouldn't characterise it as a bonus payment, Senator Bragg. What I think you're referring to is what we typically call in the industry as premium adjustment models. And the objective of a premium adjustment model is primarily to ensure that members of superannuation funds pay efficient and fair premiums. The way a premium adjustment model works is we recognise there is uncertainty in determining what the ultimate claims experience will be, but we determine the initial premium based on our best estimate. But there can be variations and volatility in that. So a premium adjustment model works to align the ultimate premium to the actual claims rather than the expected claims. And it does that by reviewing the claims that are received against the initial expectations. And that can see adjustments in premiums made over time. That can see payments flow between the insurer back to the fund into their insurance reserves. And then similarly, we can see payments go from the superannuation fund back to the insurer. So it is not a sharing of my apologies. It is not a sharing of profit. It is an adjustment to the premiums over the longer term.
But it does establish an incentive for the trustee to pay fewer claims, doesn't it?
I don't believe it does, sir.
Okay, let me read you.
Are there incentives within our business to pay fewer claims and decline claims would be incorrect and inappropriate to characterise. I can confirm that every claims consultant within our organisation, and when I was the Chief Claims Officer, anyone who has delegation to make a decision does not have any incentives or KPIs associated with the amount of claims they decline. Rather, they're incentivised on the quality of the decision that they make.
Let me read to you from the Cbus website, which says, we have an arrangement with the insurer under which we may receive a payment from the insurer in years where the level of claims compared to premiums is low. I mean, that would suggest to me an incentive to pay fewer claims or to maybe drag out claims. So are you able to provide on notice the contract you have with Cbus which deals with these payments?
Yeah, I'm happy to take on notice to understand what we can provide you in that regard. Very comfortable to do so.
Yeah, but you don't think it provides an incentive?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, most people would look at that and say, well, that's an incentive for a fund like Cbus to not pay death claims and to gain a financial benefit, which you can then pass on to others, including perhaps shareholders like the CFMEU.
I can't comment on that, Senator. I don't believe it provides an incentive to deny claims. And as I said earlier, a number of the death claims that are subject to the current conversation don't actually have any insurance attached to them. I do note that included in Cbus's annual report, they include disclosure around these arrangements as they relate to movements in their insurance reserves.
Yeah, it looks pretty murky to me, but thank you very much for your time and evidence.